as I was starting my career. So I've been a physio.
Sorry, nothing happened. So there we go. Now it's live. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. My name is Elton. I'm the host of Talk at 8. We are on episode 71. This is a show where we talk about sport and how sport has changed people's lives. We invite you to take a seat at the table. Come share your comments, share your thoughts. Tell us what you think, and definitely comment on some of the stories and information that is shared by these lovely guests. And that's what we do every Wednesday night. Tonight we are joined by none other than Inge, Uthman, and Shamiel, and they'll be telling their stories of how sport has changed their lives over a long period. But to tell us more, let's start with Inge. Hello, Inge. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. So I'm Inge. I'm currently the Stormers physiotherapist. I've been with Western Province for 9 years, so I can say my career started quite late. I also run a practice with Renee Naylor, the Bach physio, which a lot of you know and which we really respect and admire. I have been a physio since 2001, so it's a long time. So when I say, so I really am living my dream. This is what I've always wanted to do, and I'm really quite feel blessed to be able to share that with you. I come from a rugby family. For those of you who know the Croy surname, my late dad, he was actually nicknamed Billy Bush back in the day when he still played eighth man, but he's well known with playing for Tygerberg and then ended his career in VP Platelet. So that's where I spent my Saturdays on the rugby field, taking oranges, having the team with us on a Friday night when I was home. He was the captain, so there'd be music and team camaraderie and knowing the game plans. And so that's really where my love for rugby grew. And obviously being an only child, I was also pushed to do lots of sport. So it wasn't as good as they wanted me to be. And the dreams of playing Wimbledon didn't quite manifest. But I'm so grateful to be able to actually still be sharing in the platform of sport, and especially within the elite sport. And no, from my dad not being here anymore, I just know that he's looking down on me and being really proud of what we can do and what I can add to the sport that he also loved really dearly.
So what made you go into physio? Or am I asking a dumb question?
No, I thought I didn't want to be a physio, but I went back to some notes that we found hidden in school, and there was a thing written that I said I wanted to be a physio, but it really started with being surrounded by sport. So from having to massage people, or, back then they didn't do anything much more than rub something, put ice on it, and just put a bandage around it. So that's what I was told to do. And being having to always walk on my dad's back or help some of the team members, I really got interested in knowing what physio was about. And I didn't want to study medicine, to my parents' dismay. So physio was the next thing, and the love for sport, the wanting to treat people and actually to work with people, alongside people, and actually try and make a difference in people's lives. That's really where it started. So it's been a road. First 10 years of my life, I was traveling, working, taking any job that took me abroad, but then got grounded and really kind of manifested myself in Cape Town.
And now you're still traveling all over the show, but with one
I know
team.
it's exactly, but I'm loving it. At least my dream, my travel dream, working with sports, it's all happening. Come on. So really, I'm blessed. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, we're not working a day in our lives. And
exactly.
If you ask me when I qualified, I promise you guys, I graduated in 2001. I said I'm never going to do physio ever in my life again. And here I am. Not because I didn't like it. I just wasn't sure what it was that I really wanted from it. So hard work and just sticking at it and really just kind of keeping the dream in mind. You really do get to where you want to be.
Exactly.
And perseverance,
and commitment, 100%.
And exactly, absolutely.
If you've just tuned in, welcome. We are having a conversation with Inge, Uthman, and Shamiel. You're welcome to drop a comment on Insta, on YouTube, or on Facebook, and join the conversation. Mr. Uthman, how are you, my good man?
Yeah, I'm doing well. How are you?
All good, all good. Tell us a little bit about you and how you fit into the big scheme of sport. What is your
Yeah,
connection to
so
sports, sir?
my name's Uthman Samaai. I am the captain of the Cape Town Kings, which is the premier South African Super League team for Cape Town, and then I'm also the captain of the South African men's ice hockey team. I've been both captain for both teams for the last 4 years. I've been playing ice hockey, I guess, since I was six. I'm 31 now. It's quite a while, but oh, that's me.
And what do you do other when you're not otherwise when you're not on the ice? Do you only
Yeah,
play
I've
ice
started running.
hockey? Do you have a day job?
Oh, I've got a day job. I mean, I would love to play a professional ice hockey. It's just not as big in South Africa as it is around the world. So for my day job, I actually work for the city of Cape Town in the communication department. Been there for the last 6 years. Other hobbies include I've just started running on this whole journey of discovering like new things. Really enjoying my running journey and pushing my body to see how far we can really go without losing the performance on the ice, which I'm beginning to see is you can't really push your body that far if you want to be really, really explosive still. So just
Yeah.
trying to find that balance between high performance and long distance running. If that makes sense.
That was an interesting conversation this weekend, but we won't get into that
Yeah, it
conversation
was.
now.
The
Uthman, how big is ice hockey? Tell us some of the dynamics around ice hockey because most people, when I tell people that I'm involved in ice hockey, they laugh at me and say, "Can't be in South Africa. We don't even have ice hockey." So tell us a little bit about ice hockey, please.
ice hockey is definitely a growing sport in South Africa. I think it got hit quite badly with COVID when people had to decide like whether they're going to play sport or whether they're going to have like food on their table. So we lost quite a few people there. But with our little bit of tournaments that we have a year, we are building up a bit of a fan base again, and people are coming back to the game, which is nice. Quite a small sport, not a lot of government funding, but hopefully that changes in the next couple of years. It's definitely a growing sport. We have a massive tournament coming up next year, June. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, and I haven't actually asked if I'm allowed to say it, so I'm not going to say it. But that's a big
It's
tournament, a
not
lot of
official
teams
yet.
coming together. I don't see. I just think this is my second time being on the air where I should announce it, but who knows? So we have one of those big tournaments coming up next year. 6, 7 countries all coming down to Cape Town. So it should really, really be cool, and we should get a lot of fans and people starting the game there. So it's definitely a growing sport, and hopefully with a bit of government funding, we can get more people involved.
I agree with you, Uthman. What was interesting for me is all this paraphernalia that you have to put on as protection gear. Tell us a little bit about that, just so that people understand. Uh, because
Yeah.
you look and you see this rubber pushing you into a glass. Don't you get sore? Do you
Yeah.
have protection gear? Tell us a bit about the protection gear.
Yeah, so ice hockey is quite a hectic game with the physicality wise. Um, you are protected head to toe with I mean if you can go through from skates to shin pads to like a girdle to your chest piece to your helmet to your elbow pads to your gloves, you are well protected. But it is the fastest team sport that's not motorized, so it is quite fast paced, but it's also people that are hitting each other quite hard. So yes, you are protected, but it is quite a violent game, yeah.
It's an impact sport. It's not a violent game.
You know, it's a beautiful game. It's as violent as you would think rugby is violent. Um,
No, I think
it's a
well,
It's a contact sport.
it's a contact sport. Yeah, exactly.
So
100%.
talk about contact sport. Someone who's involved in a different kind of contact sport is Shamiel. Shamiel, Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Mm. Walaikum salam. I'm alright, Elton. You?
Good, thank you. What kind of contact sport are you involved in, sir? Seeing we're doing contact sport tonight.
Um, I think a bit less violent than rugby and ice hockey. Obviously, there is only one beautiful game, and that's football or soccer, as some of us might call it. But yeah, yeah, gotta say it. Um, yeah, I've been playing since probably about 10. Still playing, going over 50. You know, we're now called veterans or masters. Not that we've mastered anything, but we're still playing, having fun. But yeah, I suppose my claim to fame is the fourth moment. I've started the fourth moment in 2010 or 2011. That is just where, so the fourth moment is basically a media platform. What started out as a media platform, and it was more to highlight grassroots football and more the players in our Cape Flats area, underprivileged area. And been coaching since 2003, I found that many of the players that I was coaching didn't know the area outside that they would actually stay in. So areas like Parkwood, Kefter, Lavender Hill, Retreat, because I'm out in the southern suburbs. And yeah, and I thought they didn't know about it. And my mission was to actually show them what they could do out there and show them what was out there. And that's how it started, taking photos of games, doing match reports from a coach's point of view. I started a website back then, or that time it was called a blog. There was no websites, it was blogs. You write your little match report and so on. I then moved on to get, because I'm in IT field, I then thought, why don't I just open up a website, which I could do. And from there, it's been growing crazy. We're the only platform in Cape Town that focuses on grassroots football. Players, we see players coming into the game at 10, 11. They're playing now semi-pro, ABC Motsepe, third division. That's how long we've been around. And yeah, it's just giving those players a platform and highlighting them to the rest of the world. Because our saying is, without grassroots football, there is no pro football. It's obviously everybody's dream to become a pro footballer. It's not going to happen. And we try to show them other things that they can do where football adds value to their life and teaches them certain skills that they can take into other areas of their life and become sort of contributors to society and not just be, you know, what they know that's around them, which is just people that take. And yeah, no, that's sort of in a nutshell. We can talk on and on, but I think that's what I do, Fourth Moment. So we have a website, a Facebook page. We have a weekly program, which is called the Weekly Roundup. Also, the only YouTube show in Cape Town that highlights local LFA football. We don't touch the pro space. There's enough people doing that. The only downside is there's no money in local football, grassroots football. So we're doing it 3 years. We're on about 120 episodes so far, I think.
Amazing.
So, yeah, so that's it. We've got people we've got a captive audience every week, over 1,000 people watching. Yeah, and obviously our social media platforms is quite big. And we also do some events like our Super Cup tournament we have coming up in November, where we take, and part of what we do is we want to show the youngsters, you know, we try to put winners together. So we take all the LFA league winners in under 16 age, because we believe that's an important age in a young man and ladies football life. And we put them all together and they play to be the best under 16 team in Cape Town. And that's our big showcase where, you know, people get to know more about us also and what we actually do. Yeah.
And Shamiel, that tournament has grown from strength to strength since it started. I mean, if I look at it when it started to where it is now, I mean, it's chalk and cheese from way back then.
No. We started 2018. We struggled to get 16 teams together because it was called the Super Cup. It's called the Super Cup. And it was then called the Super 16, under 16 Super Cup. So that was sort of the marketing spin. And we struggled to get 16 teams. This November, we've got 24 male teams. We've got 8 ladies teams. So yeah, it's grown. COVID also obviously impacted us quite a bit. Took us 2 years to restart. And we do this all from our own funding. There's no sponsors. There's nothing. Yeah, but I can proudly say there's 3 of the players that played in the tournament last year that's in the SA under 17 national team. They were scouted there by an academy, and yeah, their future is just bright. So yeah, I think we had a small part to play in it by showcasing it.
Well done to you and the team, Shamiel. Shamiel, maybe you must, like Uthman, explain the level of football, because you talk about the LFA. Most people watching don't even know what an LFA is. So maybe just explain what an LFA is for those who don't know.
Okay, so yeah, obviously the LFA is the local football associations. We've got about 32 in Cape Town. So that's where football gets played every Saturday by your little nieces, brothers, sisters, uncles, whoever wants to play. Obviously, football is a mass participation sport. That's where they all get to play. So that's LFA football. Within that tiers, obviously, or in that space, there's different tiers. You have like Super League, Premier League. Some LFAs have Champions League, and obviously, the higher you go, the more serious it gets. For LFA, there's no competitiveness, or there shouldn't be until 10 years old. But we have coaches who want to win under 10 tournaments and under 10 matches. But that's fine. We try to educate coaches also. But yeah, then obviously, like I say, from under 14 starts getting competitive. Under 16 is really where it's like you're training to be competitive, and under 18 you're playing to be competitive. So that's that. And obviously from there it's senior football, first team, and then we have promotion to third division, second division, and then from there into the pro space where it's NFD and PSL. So that's, I don't know if that answers that.
It does, Shamiel, and you sound almost like you studied the long-term participant development model, because you eloquently explained that whole process, which is great. Thank you. Thank you for the conversation you and I had in 2015.
Part of what we do is we coach coaches, Elton. So it's like things like that stay with you. So we have workshops also, because obviously I believe, administrators come and go, and sport can always be in a certain position. But at the end of the day, when you're dealing with the youngsters, with the actual participant, that is where you have the most influence. So our focus is really coaching coaches, because I feel I can coach a team and I influence 20 players. I coach 5 coaches, I influence 100 players. And that's our
100%.
sort of mindset. So we have regular workshops, not certified, but we get quite knowledgeable people to come in and sort of give those or offer those workshops. I'm not an instructor, so I don't do that. I facilitate it. And then sometimes we have obviously pro coaches that come in and talk, and they like what we do, and they come and give input. And so yes, that's why I know, because I've been enough coaches in workshops to know the long term figure. Subconscious already.
Exactly. That's why I was excited when I heard the progression. Took me back to that conversation and that course way back then. So if you just tuned in, welcome. My name is Alton. I'm the host of Talk at 8. We've got Shamiel, we've got Inge, we've got Uthman, and we're having a conversation about sport. You're welcome to drop your comments on Insta, YouTube, or on Facebook, like Regan did. He said to Uthman, "Captain, my captain. How's it, Alton, the man with the magic elbows? Clearly, you know something we don't know." He's one of the players that was with us. He plays for the Kings, and Uthman can tell you, and Regan will tell you how my elbows worked this past weekend and my recovery boots.
Painful.
And which leads me to the next question. From a football perspective, Shamiel, Inge, from a rugby perspective, Uthman from a running and from an ice hockey perspective, take us through how important it is to prepare for a match, and some of the things that happens in your head and in your heart during match day and post-match recovery, from your perspectives. Uthman, both as a player and as a captain. Inge, from your perspective as a physio, and Shamiel, from your perspective behind the scenes and even as a coach, because people don't know these kinds of things. They only think players come there and they get onto match day and the rest is history. Get off, have a beer, go home. But they don't realize there's lots of other elements to it. Let's start with Uthman, we go Inge, and then we go Shamiel.
Yeah, I don't
Good
think
choice.
my match day routine has changed too much over the last maybe like 10, 15 years. It's been quite consistent. Obviously, maybe when I got a bit older, I began to like understand that it was an actual system that I did. But when I was younger, it was just something I did. I like to eat 3 hours before, quite a carby meal, just because I know I'm going to need it. Ice hockey is quite a demand in sport on your body. But mainly it's just lots of music, lots of highlights of NHL games, NHL plays. I've been playing with the same roommate in since we were like 16. Luke Carlson has been my roommate since we were under 18 guys, and then I guess every world championship we've kind of been roommates since then. So we've been roommates for a while. So we try and even the night before we try and watch a sports movie. Like I know you kind of run out of sports movies, but we've watched Coach Carter is one of the go-tos. Um, and so the morning, obviously big breakfast, big lunch. I try to get some coldness involved. Either that's a water, cold plunge, just something to relax the body. I try and stay out of the sun, obviously just because sun eats your energy. And then it depends on whether we having like a night game or like an afternoon game. Majority of our games are at night. I try and get like a 30 to 40 minute sleep in. Um, and we try and arrive like an hour to 2 hours at the rink, maybe an hour and a half at the rink, where you can get your sticks ready. You can just start getting yourself mentally prepared for the game. Depending where we are, I like to tape my sticks where you can see the ice, just so I can visualize scoring the goal or doing something on the ice. I had this coach in under 18 who always told me that you have to visualize yourself doing the thing before you actually do it. And then when you get into that moment, it becomes simple. And I've been doing that ever since. And I think it's really helped me prepare for on ice performance. Since becoming captain, it's been less of like when I was younger, it was more of like a selfish approach where it's just you have to worry about yourself. And now becoming captain, you have to obviously worry about everyone and making sure that everyone is in tune, everyone's prepared. Obviously, I know everyone prepares in their own way, so you can't expect everyone to prepare the way you do, but just to make sure that everyone is ready for the game and making sure that the only thing they're really worried about is winning the game and there's no other distractions. So yeah, that's my readiness plan for games, and it's been quite repetitive throughout my life, and I think it works.
And what's it like in match? I mean,
In
you're
match.
on for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, you come off. It's a revolving, explosive action all the time. What goes through your head when you're on, when you're off?
Yeah, I would love to say a lot goes through my head, but like there's nothing. I'm very clear when I'm on the ice. There's no distractions. I feed off the energy of my line mates. So whether it's if people are so as the type of person I'm a very loud person. I don't If you've ever like come to a game, you will hear my voice a lot just because I like to scream, I like to be loud. I'm very much in your face in a hockey game. So I feed off that energy and I provide that energy for the team. So in hockey, you're only really on the ice for 30 seconds at a time. You'd get like 16 shifts in the game. So it's about like you only really get 16 minutes on the ice. So it's on, off, on, off, on, off. And then you kind of just talking to your line mates the whole time, trying to get them pumped and get their head in the game. If that makes sense.
Yep. And then post match, what's your normal routine? Or what happens post match?
Yeah, so I like to we do a big cool down stretch, depending on what time it is. This is new into my recovery plan just because I never had boots or never had access to boots before this. But I try and get in those compression boots. If I don't have the compression boots, I try and use a massage gun or foam roller to try and get the muscles a little bit relaxed because especially in these tournaments we play where we normally play like 5 6 games in like 5 6 days, so it's quite quick recovery times.
Okay, that makes sense. Inge, from your perspective as a physio, what's it like preparing for match day, during match day, and post match day?
Jeez, I wish our guys were only on for 15 seconds sometimes, 16 seconds. So our match prep actually starts on Monday. And Monday meaning we're looking at what injuries there were, which guys had niggles, and which guys are we pulling. And then based on that, that's where we start. So our planning based on if it's a grade one, we're going to try and push him for that weekend. So that's where the stress starts. If we know he's out, he's still managed, but he's not as, we still prioritize him, but we know we don't have to push him as hard. So the guys get recovery rubs on a Monday. We're very blessed to have that. Half an hour rubs for the guys who played. We then seeing the guys who need the medical attention and physio attention. And then our routine, our week is pretty set routine. So we know Monday we're doing installation. Tuesday our training's different. Wednesday our training's different. And our off day is on a Thursday. So you working your week accordingly. On a Tuesday, you know the guys need to be ready for high accelerations. The split is intense. I mean, our forward coach says no physio, no doctor will stop you from this session. So we just in the heads of the players that we know who we need to pull back a little bit or who we want there. You know, the success of a medical team is having the most players available for your coach to select from. So that's really our ethos from day one. And that's what we want, but also protecting the player. So you have to find that fine balance of knowing what's the right call. And we're a team, so we make that call together. So on a Tuesday, our guys have a lot of soft tissue. So we'll do soft tissue work. They have recovery pumps. We have massage guns. They have mobility sessions, compulsory mobility sessions, which they have to do. They've got their own pre-ab, which we're really strict about. So any niggles that they've had previously, they have their pre-ab sessions scheduled, but individualized for the athletes, depending on what they've had. We supervise that, and that's done on a Tuesday and on a Wednesday. And then come Wednesday, that's our high speed day. So now the guys have to be firing. We have our daily meetings in the morning to decide which guys are more niggly, which guys have said they haven't slept well, the fatigue. So touching base with fatigue, any niggles, any stiffness, and any screening that might have come up and shown, oh, this guy's tight in his hamstring, he's tight in his lower back. Is he at risk? So we want them on the pitch, but how much of a risk is that for that player? And that's the question we're asking after Monday, after Tuesday. And then while they're training on Wednesday, we're just praying, okay, we've made all the right decisions and those guys are made it through that training. It's a short session, but it's an intense session. But that's to really prepare them to work at an intensity higher than what the game would need them to be at. And that's why we really have to be aligned with our coaches and what their needs are, so that we are all talking the same language. And so that's part of our preparation as well. And that when we speak to our players, I think physios are privy to having really special relationships with and massage therapists. So anyone in that space, I say the physio is the safest space. So we build on that relationships, but we also then can help coaches in knowing how to manage and how to handle certain players. So Thursdays are our recovery days. That's they're off. They can do whatever they want to do. Some of them do golf. That's what they like doing, and they'll go for the golf day and they feel that relaxes them. So we don't say no. If you're going for a 50 cycle mountain bike, we will put our foot down. So we're quite strict with what we allow them to do in saying that. They have recovery massages on a Thursday, and that's any player who feels they need it, they'll have that. And then we might see any players who may be in doubt or that we're just a bit worried about, and that's playing. So we're available to see them for any extra treatments, should that be the case. On Friday is more of our chill day. So by then, everyone needs to be prepared in their own way. We also believe that the players know what they need, like Uthman's actually said. So his routine is his routine, his teammates is his teammates' routine, and we respect that. So, I mean, I've got some players who need 45 minutes of soft tissue after captains still before they play, but we give them that because that's what's going to make them feel ready for that next day. And as I've mentioned, we are very lucky. The guys get to take the pumps home if they want to. We only have 2 for our team, so we're not excessive. We do fight about those, but we give the guns to them. They've got access to those things to just help with their recovery. Ice baths are big for us, so we encourage that daily. And they really love it, and they find that it really is useful and helpful. And a lot of them go down to Saunders Beach in Sea Point. And they kind of do that as a team. Well, there's a few that do that, but it builds camaraderie, and I think it also builds connection for them, which is great. Then Saturday is probably the big day. So, I mean, I think I'm probably as nervous. I'm more nervous than they are, but I think for us, it's also just watching the injury, right? So our prep is, we meet about 4 hours before the time. Our strapping list varies. So we strap the entire team. It takes about 2 hours between two of us. Everyone's allocated a 5-minute slot per joint. So if you're strapping 2 ankles, 2 shoulders, you're getting 20 minutes. But it's a good system and it works. And we finish earlier, but at least there's a flow to it. And then they go into another meeting, and then we're on the bus. And once we're on the bus, that's the focus. So everyone's focused. Our bus is quiet. You can hear a pin drop in that bus as we drive to the stadium. So for me, I think we all follow that focus because we want to channel into what Uthman said, the visualization of actually we winning today. And we're just hoping that our players are feeling that energy in aligned with that. There's always a really cool motivational video that plays before we get onto the bus, and there's the head coach's chat that really kind of gets you going. And I mean, I'm even getting goosies just thinking about it. So, and this is every Saturday. I think you feel it every Saturday, and you're so blessed to be part of that. And then once you get to the game, we're in the change room. Physios are still busy. We're doing the last bit of strapping needed. We often leave the knees for that time. Everything's set out for the guys. They've got their bands ready for their mobility. And again, they're in their own zones of what they need for that time. And then once warm-up's done, we're all mic'd up and ready for the game. And sometimes I feel I need to take something to calm my nerves. Still till this day. Guys, when I was working at Tigerberg Rugby Club back where I started, I still had nerves. And it's the same nerves that you feel. And I think it's just because you're so close to your players and you want everyone to do well. And you also just don't want them to be injured. And so you following the game, you having to know some of the players, you're just aware of the players. So I make sure that I know, I mean, I'm not going to know where each person needs to be, but you understand the game. Even though I think my coaches, that's probably one thing about being a girl. I think they don't realize how much you do know about rugby, but that's okay. I'm not there to coach, and that's not my role. But the understanding and knowing your calls, because you get messages through. So you having to go onto the pitch to give those messages. And so you have to understand the lingo of what's really going on. And then once the game's done, when you've won, it's very hyped up and happy. But we then do medicals post-game immediately. So we'll check those with niggles, will come, we'll make sure we have our list of what's required. The guys who need the game ready or ice or compression or whatever, they go home with those. We have ice baths immediately after. We don't do any rubs post-game. Most of the guys are keen to have a beer and just kind of hang out with each other or go home, depending on what time the game is. And then Sunday morning, you're still back on your phone, checking in with the guys that have had niggles. Everyone has until 12 o'clock to tell you what's going on. So that we also just prepared to tell the coaches who's worse, who can't play, who we know is definitely out, or who's going to be flagged for that next week. So yeah, it's a full week, but it's great. But I think we all work towards one mission.
And that's a massive job just there on its own. Uthman's taken us through from a player's perspective. He's taken us through as from behind the scenes as a physio perspective. Shamiel, from a coach's perspective, how different is all of this to you when you're coaching?
I think obviously depending on the level you're at, it's very important. We worked in setups where, like ABC setup, where all what the two other guests are talking about is like very relevant in terms of coaching. You in contact or speaking, communicating, especially with the physio all the time. At training, you want to know what's happening. Can they make it? You want to know how serious the injuries are, and because that's where your plan is working for the weekend already, from the Monday at training, your recovery, you want to get the physical or the mental mindset of the players after the game. Those that didn't have a good game, you want to have a chat to them. You want to try to lift them up if they didn't have. Those that had a brilliant game, you want to make sure that momentum continues. So yeah, I suppose it's the level you're at. So yeah, obviously as a coach, you have your training sessions planned almost for the practically the whole season. You've done your preseason already. Once you've got your team sorted, it's more about your opponents, who you're going to play, what you know about them, and preparing for that. Obviously, I'm the type of coach where I go into a season where your players are your weapons. It's your arsenal. I want to be able to adapt during a game. I want to be able to do certain things, play different ways, use certain players as key, and then also have some surprise packages. So obviously that's your planning in terms of the session. I think most coaches on a Monday is recovery. Have recovery sessions plans. On Tuesday you start with the physical a bit, and then more from the Wednesday and the Thursday. That's where the game implementation, the things that you want to actually do in the match or execute. That's where that sort of training happens. Always by the Thursday, if players don't have the idea of what's going to happen, that's when you start stressing. But yeah, I suppose that's just the way it is. Like I say, depending the level again where you're at, that's that you got to deal with it. I think match day, yeah, definitely one that wants to be there hour and a half, 2 hours before the time. Even as a player, that was my thing. I wanted to settle in the environment. I wanted to make sure. I'm not a calm person. Well, I wasn't a calm person. As the older you get, the calmer you get. So I think as you learn and you grow, you become calmer. Football is also obviously very emotional, as you know, Elton. Things just go crazy. There's gotta be somebody calm. When you're in the war, the calmest guy is the one who's going to think clearer, and obviously execute their plan better. So yeah, players must be there at least for an hour before the time, no later than that. You want to make sure they all together. You want to make sure, Saturday is about enjoying the day. All your work's been done in the week. The few minutes before the match starts, butterflies, yeah, like when you were 12, still happening now with 50 odd, that happens. But that's all the excitement that keeps you on edge, I think. Myself personally, yes, I want to remain calm. I want to make sure my assistants they know what they need to do, and the players, obviously. Captains, a lot of talking happening. Obviously, making sure, especially warm up, so important. You want to check the vibe. You want to see the intensity, depending on who we play. So my type of play is always I want high intensity, execute things quickly, and be able to control the game. So intensity for warm up is important. Watch the players as they warm up, specific drills, whatever we're doing. And then, yeah, and it's happened before where you feel a player's not right, and he was in the starting 11, he's out. He's out. Too many chances where we've taken that chance. Let's see what he does. And then within the first 2 minutes, it's like, damn, shouldn't have done that. So, but you grow and you learn and so on. And you got to trust your gut, because ultimately, for me, football is all about preparation. You prepare months in advance. You have your plan. You know what you want to do, because at the end of the day, there's somebody else on the other side of the line who's doing the same thing, and it's about outwitting that guy, outthinking him, and obviously, the one with the better plan is going to come through. Football's also luck. It's got a lot to do with it. Conditions, weather, field. Yeah. So some days it's good, some days it's not so good. It's never bad. We never lose. We always learn. And if we learn from when we don't get the result that we want, that's when we grow. And when we get the result, especially at times you don't expect it, that is obviously jubilation. Yeah.
That's a coach's answer.
We'd have to ask him on game day once they've lost. So maybe we'll chat then.
No, we make ourselves missing. Obviously, on game day when you lose, and I've spoken. I know this is a common trait with a lot of coaches. You don't sleep that night, especially coaches who do a lot of planning. You really don't sleep that night. It's just you don't sleep. How could this have done? How could you have done it differently? Should I have made that change? Should I have done this? Did I have it wrong? Did I have it right? And that takes, sometimes it can take till the Monday, Tuesday. But you gotta brush it off, because
Absolutely.
obviously, like we say, every game is a new opportunity. So yeah, it's
Let,
all
let's get
cliches
to
and stuff like that.
let's get to some of the comments. You're welcome to drop your comments on YouTube like Uzay did. He said, "Go captain!" Obviously for you, Ut.
Yeah.
Wayne Lazo on Facebook says, "If anyone out there hasn't been to an ice hockey match, I can hardly recommend it. It's fast and very, very exhilarating." Shani on Facebook says, "I think
My
most of us sport
father-in-law.
enthusiasts." Say again, Ut.
That's my father-in-law.
Okay.
Oh, cute.
So clearly he's a big fan of ice hockey.
Big fan.
Shani on Facebook says, "I think most of us sports enthusiasts and game watchers underestimate what goes into the players to be ready for every game and match. We take it for granted the sportsmen and women, and they just run into the field ready. So exactly my point. Most people don't know these things that happen behind the scenes." Nathima Isaac says, "Great show, Elton, with fantastic guests. Awesome to hear everyone's views." Penny on Facebook says, "Great show." Yes, she agrees with the comments. So now that people understand what's it like behind the scenes, what are your views on how do we get people in the youth space to potentially continue playing sport? Because currently in South Africa and around the world, research has shown that we have what's called the missing middle. Between the ages of 18 to 21 and 35, people stop playing sport. They either have a girlfriend, they get married, they move out of their home, so their parents don't tell them they must play sport anymore, or life happens. From your perspective, what can we do differently to keep people involved in sport? Any one of you can go first.
I think
And
if,
you,
from my point,
before you answer, those on Facebook, YouTube, and Insta, you're welcome to give us your views too in the chat. Go, Shamiel.
I think it's an interesting fact that you give there. I think for me, I always look at the beginning, parenting, school, that type of thing. Because and I know, generations have moved on, and technology is very big at the moment. But when you started when you were younger, things became a habit. It doesn't have to be football; it can be football and rugby and tennis and cricket. I mean, I remember playing all sports, even rugby league at a time, just because of my size. But sport was a thing that you were doing all the time. It was part of. You went to school when it was off days. You used to have those class tournaments, those type of things. So it's like the people that I know since when I went to school that played sport are still playing sport, and they haven't stopped. Yes, you get a break, and I think that's maybe where the economics come into play, when you need to take a 2 year off or whatever. You get married, you've got children, so your priorities change a bit, but you always get back into it. So for me, just to answer the question, it's sad that is a statistic, but I think if parents need to, when they start, it's something that they need to do, and not just taking kids to clubs and so on as a daycare. Actually taking the kids, showing interest in what they're doing, engage them. And not everybody is a Messi, not everybody is a Ronaldo or a Sia or sorry with mine, I don't know any famous hockey players. So that type of thing. Besides, you're the most famous one I know, yeah. But just to encourage, and sport be looked at more of not as something to live your dream through, but something for your child's overall growth, like religion, like education, like that type of thing. And I think if that starts properly, like any foundation where it's solid, but gradually continues, because by the time a child is 13, 14, he's got his own mind, he's going to do what he wants. And if he doesn't have the habit of taking part in sport and stuff with not things that teach you in sport, the discipline, the respect, things like that, ethics, that type of thing, that I don't know, for me, that all I learned in sport and then in business. So, because sport was the first thing where you engaged with people. You had to, you play in a team sport, you have to talk to the guy next to you. You have to learn to get to know him or her and so on. And that is, yeah, so that's my thing. Once we get it right at let's say youth level or foundation phase, that, and it carries on with the child or with the person, then obviously that will change. But it's, I have seen where parents bring boys, girls, 13 years old for the first time to train in football matches. And it's tough because the boys that's been with you have been playing since they were 6 or 7. They've got all that skills that they learned, and you're bringing somebody that's 13 that's got no coordination, no mobility skills, no idea of what actually supposed to happen. And it's difficult. That child, we know if there is something that happens drastically, he won't survive 2 years because everybody around him is in a different space, unless obviously you do get the ones you work with him and you try to put them aside and try to work with him to speed them up. But if the mind is not there to be wanting to be there, and they're just there because they must get rid of some energy, or mom's got to take a break or whatever, then obviously that's, I think that's where it sort of, that's where we get it wrong. Yeah, that's my short answer.
I,
Before you go, Inge, Shamiel, and I think that is the biggest. If you look at football currently, and Inge, from a think about this from a rugby perspective. Currently, football has the biggest growth of over 35, over 40, over 50, over 55, because everybody is now coming back because of lifestyle issues, diabetes, all of those lifestyle challenges, and now all to get away from their husbands and wives, so now they come back into sport. I think that does this happen in the rugby space.
Yeah, so I mean, and I must commend you, Shamiel, for also your organization that you do, to you encouraging youth to actually keep being active and bringing families together. Because I know even from my family, my cousin has taken his kids, both daughter and son, from a young age because he played football, and so that's where I second that completely. It's the foundations of where we act. And I think rugby, and I mean football is the most growing sport because there's a smaller group of people who actually go and play rugby, and especially now with the concussions that are happening in the younger kids. So I worked with Western Cape Sports Academy for a long time too, and I used to consult with them, and that was also a great kind of concept of where we are encouraging kids from young ages. And yes, they might have been a bit talented, but it's age groups from as small as 10, and they're really being exposed to sport and exposed to teams and exposed to coaching and exposed to the education of recovery and what your body needs and how that helps you. And if we can just keep doing that from that age, and that program, I mean, I worked with some of the netball girls, and when they were still what were they, under 18 or under 19? And I mean, some of them are coaching and still playing now because they were exposed to that at that age, and so I know in not all now schools don't even have PT anymore, or so that's a problem, I feel. And especially I'm talking now from a physio perspective, not only from a sport perspective, but the livelihood, your for your own health and well-being and your mental wellness. Those kind of things really need to be addressed to be able to improve that age group of not having being called the missed age group.
Penny Roberts, who's a netball coach, agrees with both of you. She says she agrees. It stems from home. Your parents should be there to motivate you and get you into sport. And she agrees with both of you on that perspective. Ut, from your perspective, how do we capture that missing middle? Ice hockey seems to have it to a degree.
Yeah, I think it starts from, as they both said, at a young age. I think Western Province Ice Hockey has got it really right over the last couple of years. We have a learn to play program from any age up. So it's also Jason and Tracy, who's the president, the Big Surf family of Western Province Ice Hockey. They've centered ice hockey around community, and obviously the Ice Hockey Western Cape family feels like a community. So basically, like, it feels obviously like a little bit of a little big family. So as you're going through the phases, you're making lifelong friends. So it does make it a bit harder when you get to that age to kind of leave. Obviously, people leave, and it's very evident also for us when their parents obviously stop paying for them to come to hockey, and then they have to pay for themselves, or either they go to Stellenbosch. And then now it's like a 2 hour drive or hour and a half drive to practice. I understand there are things that take you away. It is tough, but we are beginning to see, especially in the Western Cape, also in Gauteng, our biggest growing sport. Obviously, there's two biggest growing age groups, which is the youth females, which is there's a big push for girl development in ice hockey throughout the world, and it's a massive growing sport in obviously South Africa. We just entered our first South Africa under 18 team, females, and that's a massive thing for our sport. But then also our masters division, all the players that used to play ice hockey are coming back, and that is one of I think one of the fastest growing age groups I've seen since I've been at hockey. I mean, all the people I saw when I was like a 15, 16-year-old are officially coming back like 10, 15 years later. And then they have 3 teams now in the Western Cape. And then even I think they have 2 or 3 teams in Gauteng. They even had a super league of masters people, which was really cool to see. All the Cape Town, I guess, golden oldies versus the Joburg golden oldies, and it's amazing to see all these players coming back, because I mean, you see the love for the game never changes. You are just you this is your game, and you just love to play it, and having that opportunity to play it is always just a blessing.
Great. Let's go to 1 or 2 comments. So Rowan on Facebook says, love the show and content. Elton, thanks for keeping sport alive. Thanks, Rowan. Jump onto on Insta. Let's go to Insta. Shamiel Dulvie, Uthman's father says, to answer the question, stay involved in sport. Simple. Don't leave it when you get married or when you have a girlfriend. Stay involved, period. And then Uzay has asked a question to the panel. What is the most proud moment of each of your careers? What is a standout moment for you? Yeah.
Do you want to go, Uthman, as the athlete?
Which one?
Yeah, I don't mind going
Which
first.
one moment?
It's hard to pick one moment. I can break it down into 3 hockey moments, I guess. In 2013, I think it was, we won the WHF World Championship at home. It was a 2013, I think I was like 17, not 17, I was like 19, 20. I had quite a big role in that team. I played on the first line, and it was a really, really cool tournament. We won gold there. That was massive. I was beaming from ear to ear, playing with all my heroes growing up. That was really cool. In 2019, our Cape Town Kings went 8-for-8, undefeated in the Super League. We beat everyone. We won Team of the Year for the Western Province Sports Awards. And then in 2021 or 2022, my years are a bit messed up, but we won the WHF Division 3B at home as well. I got married a week before that, and we were 5-0 down going into the third period. And we scored 5 goals in that last period. It was a real coming together of different players and just amazing building for South African ice hockey. It was massive to see, and just seeing everyone come together like that was gives me butterflies to think about.
Amazing.
I can feel the excitement in your voice. How it's still a lingering moment for you, Uthman.
Yeah, it was magic.
Inge, from your perspective?
I think I have to probably say winning the URC. It was the first time we were in the competition. Our guys, we had the no name is basically Mani Lebok coming in making a name for himself, and then to be able to go from those losing games in the initial stages to actually lifting that trophy and seeing our guys just being so unified and together and feeling that like the unification and the brotherhood and the family that you're part of. And that's a big part of what our ethos is part of us within our team. And that was lifting that cup really was part of that whole process of being part of us. And also Stormers had not been able to win Super Rugby trophy before. So coming into a new competition and being part of that was really special. Yes.
Okay. Great moments to me. Did you get a medal? Do you still have the medal?
Yes, I have a medal, I have a cap, I've got the jersey, I've got everything.
Is it in a frame?
Yes, it is.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
Good. Shamiel, from your perspective?
Yeah, I got to think about it. I think I give you two. I've got two I can give you. I think from a media person, I think so we the type of guys, we put our head down and we work. We don't look for any fame or anything like that. So when we were at a tournament one day, myself and my colleague, and we were approached by people that we don't know, who expressed their love for what we're doing by watching the show every week. They get together as a family, put the show on the TV, and they actually make a date of watching the two of us talk a lot of nonsense and promote football. And we were just like, wow, that is when we realized the impact. And that actually made me go look at the numbers, and we need to have a look at what we're actually doing here, because we got to be careful what we're saying, because now there's thousands of people watching us. I think that was sort of one, and that still continues. I think the beautiful part of that is still continuing as we're growing. So that is one. And I think as a coach, it's, believe it or not a game, not a win, not anything. I was 2 weeks ago, went down to William Herbert Sports Field here locally in Wynberg, went to pick up something, and there was games happening. I had to sit on the stand, and this guy approaches me, and he says, Coach Shamiel, and I say, yes. And I look at him, and he looks familiar, but I don't sort of recognize him. And the longer I look at him, I can see the younger him who I coached when he was 15, 16. So he's now 29, 30, whatever. Oh, well, maybe not that old, but and he was just, he was just sharing experiences, how I helped him grow and do things. And while we were chatting, another player came with the same story, and I just thought, I was like, wow, it impacts in these guys' lives without knowing it. And that for me was like, I was like, I don't think it happens to a lot of us all the time. I know it happens to some of us, but it's, because you put your heart into it. And I think, that for me was, I think it was, I suppose pride is a word, because then you actually felt, because I've been doing it for 16, 17, 18 years, whatever, and you not look for recognition, and you don't expect anything, but I think that was, knowing that you had a positive impact in one, or that day, two people that actually told me about it, that was, for me, that was awesome.
Shamiel, so here's an interesting statistic. All of us influence 1,331 people every day.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. Hopefully good and not bad.
I know, right?
That's your choice.
That's your choice.
That's your choice. Because stat says that you influence 11 people around you. Those 11 people tell 11 other people. It's 121. If those people tell 11 others, it's 1,331 people that you influence just by your action. So imagine the transference of that knowledge to that one person. He's told how many other people of the impact that you've had in his life. So we shouldn't take for granted the interactions we have with people at any given point in time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely.
So guys, we're coming to the end. And I know you want to talk for another 2 hours, but some of us have a marathon preparation to go to sleep, After days time, all of my eyes don't look now.
Yeah, Mr. Captain, my captain.
In closing, I'm going to ask each of you my favorite question. Why would you tell me as a non-sports person to be involved in sport? What drives you? What keeps you coming back every day, Uthman, in your case, to practice, to want to do better, to want to be involved in ice hockey and running as an example? Inge, why are you still with the Stormers? Why are you still a physio? Shamiel, why are you still coaching? Why is the fourth moment still alive? What drives you? That's your closing comments. Any one of you.
Okay, I think for
That's
me,
a hard question.
sorry.
No, go. Please go.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. It's difficult to answer actually. I don't know. I suppose for me, it's part of you. It's part of life. It's part of. It's not something that you can't see not doing it. We've been doing this now for 14 years, and there's been times that now, give it up all your time and money. But I think for somebody to, if somebody wants to, why should I convince you or explain to you? Is because if you want to achieve something, then be in sport. If you want to live a life of achievements and actually growing as a person and explore the world, because that's what you can do with sports. If you want to meet new people, that's what you can do with sports. If you want to live a healthy lifestyle, that's what you do with sports. If you want to have good relationships with your partner, with your children, with your family, with other people, that's all in sport. Because you can't do it sitting at home, playing on a Xbox or a PlayStation and speaking to people you don't see, going onto TikTok and watching other people live their dream. If you want to live your dream, it is possible. Live your dream, go into sport. I'll never forget something Jerome Diamond said to me when I interviewed him about refereeing. I was surprised to hear that he never played the game of football, although he was our SA referee in the World Cup. But sport took him to other parts of the world. Sport took him to Messi. Sport took him to Ronaldo. He shared the field with those guys, and that's what sport did. So in a nutshell, if you want to live a life that's fruitful and full of achievements and you want to grow as a person, then get off your bum and go do sports.
That's definitely the journalist in you, Shamiel. That's amazing.
So Shamiel, you raised an interesting comment about Jerome. Because part of one of the theories is in sport is that if you're not in the top 5 or top 10 of your field, why not consider being a coach or a technical official? Because you have the skill or you know the game, you just don't have the ability and talent to be in the top 10 as an example. So we'll park that because that opens a whole nother conversation. Inge, from your perspective, why are you still doing what you do?
I mean, I definitely can't top that one. But so but why I do what I do, and I fully believe that sport brings people together. I mean, the World Cup showed that, but even in our little own communities, whether it's at elite sports, whether it's being at a club rugby where I started, whether it's being at Western Cape Sports Academy, you build a family, and from that family you have all these little tentacles going and those are all the people that you can start bringing that bring you together. And not only do they bring you together, but it's also networking, another networking opportunity where you then can rely on other people. You've got resources for things in life that you might never have known you needed, but you knew, I knew this person or I knew that person. And not just calling them up randomly. I mean, I've lived a life where I walked with my dad somewhere and they'd be, oh, hello, Bala. Hello, how do you know him, Dad? Oh, no, I knew your dad from rugby. Oh, no, I knew your dad from rugby. And all walks of life. And so it does take you down that path where you're meeting people from all different parts of life, giving you life experiences and adding to your own life experiences. And from a purpose perspective, I mean, we started this conversation with saying it's not a vocation, it's actually who we are. And so as a physio, it's who I am. And not that I'm validated by it, but I really enjoy the rewarding aspect of seeing someone running on the field and knowing, oh wow, I've contributed a little bit to his performance and making him a little bit better. And not from an ego perspective, but knowing that I'm glad he can feel that he's performing at his best because of what we can do. And the same goes for my clients. that we're helping them live a better, healthier life, being able to educate them and give them tools, which also helps with their family life, with their well-being, and with their self-esteem in the same way. So as a physio, I think that we're privy to creating really kind of close relationships with people because we're in the safe space. And I mean, you're working very closely with the emotions as well. And so you're able to impact a lot more people, as you said, without realizing it. But the reward you're getting from that, just knowing that they're walking out feeling better, that money can't buy that at all.
Definitely. It's what we call the intangibles in life. It's things you can't put money to, you can't see it, but you can feel it. You know it's there. It's there in the air. Uthman, from your perspective, why are you still doing this, my man? You've been involved in this since the age of 6. 25 years of almost high performance, and you're still at it.
Yeah, I think we've all touched on something similar. It's just you kind of just love this game, whether it's whatever sport you play, you fall in love with it from a young age, and you are molded by it. You go through your ups, you go through your downs, you meet your best friends. There's community built around it. Everything you do is in one way or another attached to the sport you have played. Why I would encourage, what's the question? Why would I encourage, what's the question again?
My question is, why would you encourage anybody to play sport?
There's nothing that will give you more joy and more heartbreak at the same time. And there's no way you will find out the things about yourself unless you dig deep. And the way I've always thought about digging deep into yourself is putting yourself towards a goal, committing to that goal, and doing the work. And that has always been for me through sport. And I think it's the best way to find out everything you want about yourself and how you would respond in certain situations.
Yeah, sure.
All three very different answers, I must say. But from and that's the beauty of sport. It unites people with different views, different perspectives for a common goal. If you think about it, we all play sport, and in the truest sense of the word club, it's a group of people gathered with the same purpose to have a common goal of playing together and winning. Invariably, that's why we play sport. We don't play because we want to lose. Yeah?
But we never lose. We never lose. We always learn.
It's an opportunity.
Yeah, we don't lose.
An opportunity.
There we go. Very good. Well done, guys. Well done.
We've been listening.
We've been coached. We've been coached.
But in closing, sport teaches us skills that we take into our daily lives: time management, commitment, dedication, focus, communication skills. Things that you talk about or don't talk about because you take it for granted because you're involved in sport. But it carries over into everything that we do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. It was an interesting conversation. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, from 8 till about 9:10. Every Wednesday, talk at 8. Uthman, Inge, Shamiel, it was interesting. Thank you very much for taking time and sharing some of your thoughts and ideas with the public at large. I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Thank you.
Have a good sport.
Thank you for you, Elton.
Next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Elton. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you guys.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Ciao.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.